Welcome back, everyone, to our climate-controlled RK Motors Charlotte showroom. It's time for another showcase spotlight. Let's roll the intro. Hello, everyone. Josh here, Content Director, RK Motors, and lifetime Chevrolet Camaro fan. Today's showcase spotlight, second generation Camaro, 1972 to be exact. But first, today's trivia question. What was the size of the bolt used in the rear suspension of Roger Penske's original SCCA? No, wait a minute, that's too hard. How about what years were the Bumblebee Camaros in the latest Transformers franchise? Leave us an answer in the comments. Camaro history. Well, in order to tell you about the Camaro, I have to tell you about Chevrolet's Corvair. Around about 1960, General Motors was looking to get in on the upcoming compact car market. Unlike Ford and Chrysler, they decided to engineer something a bit unique, the Chevrolet Corvair. The Corvair was a raging success. They sold a lot of them, and pretty much every sale that the car made was a conquest sale because they were so similar to the imports they were competing with. In fact, the Corvair was so successful that it kind of became its own brand in that they offered several different body styles: sedan, coupe, wagon, van, even a truck. So successful was the Corvair that General Motors wanted to proliferate the platform through other divisions. That led to a Pontiac Corvair show car, and Pontiac didn't really want a Corvair, so they developed the 1961 Tempest off of the Corvair's platform. It's a really cool car if you want to read about it as well. Despite critics and ballyhoo about suspension issues that weren't really issues, the Corvair did really well until 1964. That's when the Ford Mustang came on the scene. The Mustang changed a lot of things in the car market, classic car market, and the entry-level market, really. General Motors basically looked at Ford and said, okay, Ford is doing better, making more money with a traditional front-engine rear-wheel drive car than we are with this pricey Corvair. So General Motors decided to make the Panther, which would become the Camaro. The first generation Camaro was a bit of a compromised design in that it was based on Chevy 2 mechanicals. Chevy 2, which became the Nova, had been sold alongside the Corvair for a number of years, but it ended up being a really good car, really successful car, because the development of the car was peppered with car guys. Larry Shinoda, Bill Mitchell, Bunky Knudsen, all these people, and as we all know, car guys can make pretty much anything great. So that brings us to the second generation Camaro. This was considered the Camaro without compromise. It's longer, lower, wider, and it's developed much more for the racing that the first generation Camaro had been doing, and it was very successful in most of those respects. The second generation of the Camaro was, I believe, the longest running Camaro at 12 years, and it became the only pony car, along with its Firebird and Trans Am stablemate, of course, that existed at one point. Mopar got out of the game with their Cuda and Challenger, and AMC stopped making their entrance, and Ford had downsized the Mustang too. So that meant the Camaro, the second gen, had to be a lot of things to a lot of different people. Over the years, you could get several different small blocks, several different trim levels, And the car even went into kind of the personal luxury coupe territory that we've talked about a little bit before on this series, with the Type LT and the Berlinetta. But Chevrolet also had the Monte Carlo, so technically that was their personal luxury coupe. So this 1972 Camaro is a professionally built rotisserie restoration. Kind of walks the line between resto mod and what we consider Pro Tour. A lot of nice elements. The paint is Exalta Hot Hues Toffee that's been custom mixed. So the builder of the car called it Georgia Clay, which I think is very fitting. It looks very cool outside, very cool inside, and it does really remind you of Georgia Clay if you've ever been there. One of the big styling aspects of these very European-looking Camaros is the front end. A lot of people, you hear there are two terms really that you hear: full bumper car and split bumper car. A lot of people just think that's the difference between a regular Camaro and a Rally Sport. But if you really get into kind of the loyalist communities, there are three distinctions. One is a full bumper car, just like this, that has the bumper all the way across. These are becoming really popular in builds these days because the RS has been done so much. The second is the Rally Sport. It had the Rally Sport package, and that is a totally different front end. So none of these parts would work, the exterior parts, to restore a Rally Sport. You'll have your parking lamps up here. You'll have split bumpers, so two little bumpers here. Totally different grille enclosure, totally different grille with a urethane border around it. And then you have what people call in the community a split bumper car, which is a full bumper car like this that somebody has put Rally Sport bumpers on. So you have this valence and just the short bumpers. This car specifically, modern lighting up front. Got the Trans Am inspired spoiler, always a cool look on these cars. Filled cowl vents in the hood. Hideaway windshield wipers, that was standard on Rally Sport and optional on any Camaro you could buy in 1972. Smoked greenhouse glass. No emblems, of course. And out back, you have the second SCCA inspired spoiler, which came on, I think, mid-1970 or 1971. Rally Sport taillights, which feature the little chrome trim edges, and a custom valance that's been cut around the car's exhaust. Another interesting aspect of the early second generation cars is the smaller back window. So 1975, General Motors extended the back glass down to about right here with the idea of giving people more visibility. Overall, very cool car. It was nicknamed Cabin Fever by its builder, and it had a nice little write-up in All Chevy Performance Magazine. Let's take a look under the hood. So what you're looking at is 5.3 liters of GM LS motor, very proven platform, very easy to live with. Of course, this one's been hotted up a little bit. Have heads that have been worked by Texas Speed and Performance, Texas Speed and Performance cam. A lot of nice stuff on the engine itself. Nice Phytech intake, custom cold air induction, Griffin radiator, and ultimate stainless headers. This is very much the look of what Pro Tours have been for the past, I guess, maybe even decade. Very clean, very purposeful. Nothing you're going to be afraid to lift the hood at any kind of car show. On to the interior. One great thing about these cars is they were very good drivers, very easy to drive to begin with. So generally when you see a second generation Resto Mod or Pro Tour, second generation Camaro Resto Mod or Pro Tour, the interior remains pretty close to what it was originally. And that's kind of the case in this car. Of course you have custom upholstery with stitching that matches the body of the car. Those are fourth generation Camaro seats, probably a lot more comfortable and supportive than original. In the dash, looks like we have Dakota Digital VHX telemetry. Of course, modern air conditioning and the modern sound system that's complete with a subwoofer. Tilt steering wheel, the billet Lokar shifter, and power windows, which could have came from the factory, but possibly added during the restoration. Very nice place to spend some time. Very nice place to look at. Now that we have this Camaro on a lift, let's take a look at the car's undercarriage. As we mentioned before, this Camaro kind of walks a fine line between Pro Tour or Restomod. In the industry, a lot of times those terms are interchangeable at this point, just because of marketing. But we have two suspensions that are not necessarily factory. So start off at the back with a 4-link. It was put together by chassis crafters. That's the people who built Lokar. Very nicely done. QA1 coil-over-shocks. 10-bolt rear axle, which is what would have come from the factory. I think 71 was the last year of 12-bolt in Camaros. Up front, pretty familiar independent setup, but of course it's been reworked to be a lot better. Power rack and pinion steering, QA1 coil-over-shocks. These appear to be 6th generation Corvette control arms, but don't quote me on that. Behind the engine, Tremec T56 6-speed with McLeod hydraulic clutch. Makes it a lot easier to shift than a traditional, say, 4-speed. You're going to need those couple of overdrives because of the rear end, which has an Auburn limited slip differential and 430 gears. So you're going to have a lot of takeoff in this car. Nice stainless exhaust system with an H-pipe crossover. Subframe connectors, sturdy things up, make things feel more solid. Overall, very well done, very well restored car. So on the outside, some nice Koi C5 wheels, pretty common on muscle cars. And behind those wheels, lots of stopping power. Have 6th generation Corvette disc brakes. I think it's 13-inch rotors in the front, 12-inch in the rear. And check out that profile. I think that's one of the best angles of these cars, is kind of from the back looking at them. It's really great muscle cars. That about sums it up for our 1972 Camaro Pro Tour or Restomod. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.